Yahoveh, or Exodus 13 through 15. And Yahoveh spoke to Moshe, saying, Set apart to me all the firstborn, the one opening the womb among the children of Israel. Among man and among beast it is mine. And Moshe said to the people, Remember this day in which you went out of Mitsrayim, out of the house of slavery, for by strength of hand Yahoveh brought you out of this place, and whatever is leavened shall not be eaten. Today you are going out in the new moon, Aviv. And it shall be, when Yahoveh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, and the Hittites, and the Amorites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep this service in the new moon. 7 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day is a festival to Yahoveh. Unleavened bread is to be eaten the 7 days, and whatever is leavened is not to be seen with you, and leaven is not to be seen with you within all your border. And you shall inform your son in that day, saying, It is because of what Yahoveh did for me when I came up from Mitsrayim. And it shall be as a sign to you on your hand, as a reminder between your eyes, that the Torah of Yahoveh is to be in your mouth. For with a strong hand Yahoveh has brought you out of Mitsrayim. And you shall guard this law at its appointed time from year to year. And it shall be when Yahoveh brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and your fathers, and gives it to you, that you shall give over to Yahoveh everyone opening the womb, and every firstborn that comes from your livestock, the males, belong to Yahoveh. But every firstborn of a donkey you are to ransom with a lamb. And if you do not ransom it, then you shall break its neck. And every firstborn of man among your sons you are to ransom. And it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, What is this? That you shall say to him, By the strength of hand Yahoveh brought us out of Mitsrayim, out of the house of bondage. And it came to be, when Pharaoh was too hardened to let us go, that Yahoveh killed every firstborn in the land of Mitsrayim, both the firstborn of man and the firstborn of beast. Therefore I am slaughtering to Yahoveh every male that opens the womb, but every firstborn of my sons I ransom. And it shall be as a sign on your hand and as frontlets between your eyes, for by the strength of Yahoveh, by the strength of his hand, he brought us out of Mitsrayim. And it came to be, when Pharaoh had let the people go, that Elohim did not lead them by way of the land of the Philistines, though that was nearer. For Elohim said, Lest the people regret when they see the fighting, and return to Mitsrayim. So Elohim led the people around by the way of wilderness of the Sea of Reeds, and the children of Israel went up in 5s from the land of Mitsrayim. And Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for he certainly made the children of Israel swear, saying, Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring my bones from here with you. And they departed from Sukkot, and camped in Etham at the edge of the wilderness. And Yahoveh went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The column of cloud did not cease by day, nor the column of fire by night before the people. Exodus 14. And Yahoveh spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel that they turn and camp before Pi Haroth, between Migdal and the sea, opposite Baal Zephon. Camp before it by the sea. For Pharaoh shall say of the children of Israel, They are entangled in the land, the wilderness has closed them in. And I shall strengthen the heart of Pharaoh, and he shall pursue them, but I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, and the Mitsrayites shall know that I am Yahoveh. And they did so. And it was reported to the sovereign of Mitsrayim that the people had fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and his servants was turned against the people, and they said, Why have we done this, that we have let Israel go from serving us? So he made his chariot ready and took his people with him. And he took 600 choice chariots, and all the chariots of Mitsrayim, with officers over all of them. And Yahoveh strengthened the heart of Pharaoh, sovereign of Mitsrayim, and he pursued the children of Israel, but the children of Israel went out defiantly. And the Mitsrites pursued them, and all the horses and chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them camping by the sea, beside Pi Haroth, before Baal Zephon. And when Pharaoh drew near, the children of Israel lifted their eyes and saw the Mitsrites coming after them, and they were greatly afraid. So the children of Israel cried out to Yahoveh, and they said to Moshe, Did you take us away to die in the wilderness because there are no burial sites in Mitsrayim? What is this you have done to us to bring us up out of Mitsrayim? Is it not the word that we spoke to you in Mitsrayim, saying, Leave us alone and let us serve the Mitzrites, for it would have been better for us to serve the Mitzrites than to die in the wilderness. And Moshe said to the people, Do not be afraid. Stand still and see the deliverance of Yahoveh, which he does for you today. For the Mitzrites whom you see today, you are never to see again. Yahoveh does fight for you, and you keep silent. And Yahoveh said to Moshe, Why do you cry to me? Speak to the children of Israel, and let them go forward. And you lift up your rod and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And let the children of Israel go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I am strengthening the hearts of the Mitzrites, and they shall follow them. And I am to be esteemed through Pharaoh and over all his army, and his chariots, and his horsemen. And the Mitzrites shall know that I am Yahoveh, when I am esteemed through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And the messenger of Elohim, who went before the camp of Israel, moved and went behind them. And the column of cloud went from before them and stood behind them, and came between the camp of the Mitzrites and the camp of Israel. And it was the cloud and the darkness, and it gave light by night, and the one did not come near the other all the night. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahoveh caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea into dry land, and the waters were divided. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea on dry ground, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. And the Mitzrites pursued and went after them into the midst of the sea, all the horses of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to be in the morning watch that Yahoveh looked down upon the army of the Mitzrites through the column of fire and cloud. And he brought the army of the Mitzrites into confusion. And he took off their chariot wheels, so that they drove them with difficulty. And the Mitzrites said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for Yahoveh fights for them against the Mitzrites. Then Yahoveh said to Moshe, Stretch out your hand over the sea, and let the waters come back on the Mitzrites, on their chariots and on their horsemen. And Moshe stretched out his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its usual flow. This was at the break of day, with the Mitzrites fleeing into it. Thus Yahoveh overthrew the Mitzrites in the midst of the sea, and the waters covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the army of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them, and not even one was left of them. And the children of Israel walked on the dry ground in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall to them on their right and on their left. Thus Yahoveh saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Mitzrites, and Israel saw the Mitzrites dead on the seashore. And Israel saw the great work which Yahoveh had done in Mitsrayim. And the people feared Yahoveh, and believed Yahoveh and his servant Moshe. Exodus 15. Then Moshe and the children of Israel sang this song to Yahoveh, and spoke, saying, I sing to Yahoveh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has come my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him. Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahoveh is a man of battle. Yahoveh is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea. He has chosen his officers, and they're drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them. They went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahoveh, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahoveh, has crushed the enemy. And in greatness of your excellence you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath. It consumed them like stubble, and with the wind of your nostrils the waters were heaped up. The flood stood like a wall. The depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue. I overtake, I divide the spoil. My being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword. My hand destroys them. You did blow with your wind. The sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahoveh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in set apartness, awesome in praises and working wonders? You stretched out your right hand. The earth swallowed them. In your loving commitment you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your set-apart dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled, anguish gripped the inhabitants of Philistia. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab trembled, trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone until your people pass over. O Yahoveh, until the people whom you have brought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahoveh, which you have made for your own dwelling, the set-apart place, O Yahoveh, which your hands have prepared. Yahoveh reigns forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went with his chariots and his horsemen into the sea, and Yahoveh brought back the waters of the sea upon them. And the children of Israel went on dry ground in the midst of the sea. And Miriam the prophetess the sister of Aaron, took the timbrel in her hand, and all the women went out after her with timbrels and with dances. And Miriam answered them, "Sing to Yahoveh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he's thrown into the sea." And Moshe brought Yisra-el from the sea of reeds, and they went out into the wilderness of Shur. And they went 3 days in the wilderness, and found no water. And they came to Marah, and they were unable to drink the waters of Marah, for they were bitter. So the name of it was called Marah. And the people grumbled against Moshe, saying, "What are we to drink?" Then he cried out to Yahoveh, and Yahoveh showed him a tree. And when he threw it in the waters were made sweet. There he made a law and right ruling for them, and there he tried them. And he said, "If you diligently obey the voice of Yahoveh, your Elohim, and do what is right in his eyes, and shall listen to his commands, and shall guard all his laws, I shall bring on you none of the diseases I brought on the Mitsrites, for I am Yahoveh who heals you." And they came to Elim, where there were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, and they camped there by the waters.